This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and Maniacs. The nightly podcasts are Palace Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports. Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast, Off the Rails, NFC Northeast, Power Hours, and Detroit Lions News. Make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe, and comment. Hope you like all the shows.
All right, good morning and welcome to another edition of the Sports Wrap Show. My name's Ralph Williams. I'm your host, along with Scott Morganroth and Leo Haggerty. And today we have a special guest with us today, and that's Candy Ebling from the South Florida Tribune. And give me 1 second here. I'm going to get the banner right off the air here. Here we go. All right.
Keep it on there. I don't mind seeing our names up there. Great stuff, right, Leo?
Exactly.
There you go.
You just have to put Leo Haggerty wrote on it. That's what he has to do because he's known in Michigan as that.
Okay, welcome to the show, everybody. And we'll start off with our introductions. Leo Haggerty, start off with you. How are you this morning? Good morning. And I hope the sun is great in Florida.
Well, we're having a pretty decent day. It's going to get up close to 80. Another windy, humid, hot day in Tampa. And we got all sorts of craziness going down here, right, Scott? Especially with the Rays in the stadium.
Oh, no kidding. Ralph, if you get time, Leo and I should talk about that a little bit because that's a real hot topic in the Sunshine State without a doubt.
Sure. Yeah, I know.
The fact that
U.S.
this week women's team is unbelievable. I just put something up on Twitter today, and if I've ever pulled from my alma mater hard, it's one thing, but I'm pulling from harder. And if I need a reference, Leo, all you have to do is look at the Bucks in the Super Bowl, see if the Lady Bulls can pull that trick back in Tampa as well. So, yeah, It's a nice sunshiny day, and looking forward to having a dynamite show with the four of us.
All right. Thank you, Scott. And then Candy Ebling, welcome to the program, South Florida Tribune, also is Scott's wife and also helps out with all the technical ends of things and hosts a show called Fire Up every Thursday, which I'm a part of as well. Candy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ralph. It's great to be here. Great to keep talking sports. You guys know I love it, and we're going to be on site tomorrow. We're going to go over to Fort Myers, cover a little spring training, cover the Minnesota Twins versus the Boston Red Sox.
All right, that's great. It's good to hear everyone getting out for Florida baseball and what's going on in the Grapefruit League. All right, we're studio sponsor, Mata Heating and Air Conditioning, 724-2010-500. You ought to call Mata. Call Mata Heating and Air Conditioning, our studio sponsor. And our first segment is always brought to you by Scott Morganroth's book, The Lessons from the Microphone, Enduring Wisdom and Visionary Leaders. Pick it up at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and also by Scott's publisher. Make sure you check it out. It's a great book. 45 years in the media business. Scott Morganroth there. All right, we can get started with this Tampa Bay Rays Stadium. It's been a big hot topic throughout this coming week. The owner doesn't seem to want to put any money into this thing. Some of the communities involved, St. Pete and Tampa. Leo and Scott, we'll let you guys get more into this because I'm into it a little bit. I've heard about it. I've spoken my opinion and things like that about it on other shows. So go ahead. We'll start with you, Scott.
Actually, I'd rather, if it's okay, turn it over to Leo, and I'll go ahead and follow up.
Go ahead, Leo.
What, guys, it's really an intriguing situation because what happened was they had what they thought a deal set, and then we had two hurricanes show up. And that threw Pinellas County and St. Pete into a quandary because the Rays want them to continue and move on, and they got a 10-foot storm surge over there. You know, that half their county's underwater. So, you know, they were taking care of business. And then the Rays just dropped the ball completely this week. They said the deal's off and everything. What's scaring me to death, and this is what people better really think about, because, you know, you don't really know what you have until you don't have it. Everybody's talking about, well, they want Stu Sternberg to sell the team. Okay, great. Here's your problem. If you sell it to an ownership group and they don't put it back in St. Pete and Pinellas County, they're not going to rebuild the Trop so that guy's got a place to play. If you've got to play anywhere in Dunedin or still at Steinbrenner Stadium, whatever, you're looking at hundreds of $1 million loss until 2028 at the earliest. And if I'm going to buy the team, the first thing I'm thinking is I'm going to move it because I want a place to play. So this is what's scary, that everybody thinks Stu is cutting the deal because he wants to cut a better deal in Tampa. Well, he's not going to get it, because if we go back to when the Buccaneers wanted a new stadium, it was 50.5 to 49.5. So those days are over where people are going to build you a stadium. But Scott, Candy, and Ralph, that's what's going on down here. And it's going to be the St. Pete mayor and the Tampa mayor have basically Pontius Pilate their discussion with Stu Sternberg. They're not going to talk to anybody until they probably get a new ownership group.
You know what? There's a reason why I let you lead off, Leo, and now you're going to find out why. Number one, I don't know if you're Facebook friends with Tom Corrin, but I am, and he's a great friend. And if you're like I am, Leo, you read what Tom had to say. Tom summed it up in a nutshell, and I responded, great stuff, Tom, period. Reality is Tampa's not bailing them out. Tampa's best opportunity was to get that stadium built when the iron was hot, right, adjacent to Tampa Stadium, but St. Petersburg came first. That's number one, and that's where it should have been placed to begin with. Number two, I remember the Buck situation real well. I don't know if you hashtag these shows, Ralph, and I'm going to tell you what, yes. Tom Gordon would be a good one. Tom McEwen, my old boss at the Tampa Tribune, would be one too. And Leo knows Tom McEwen. I don't know if you know that we worked together when I was working with the Tribune, but Tom and I stand on the sidelines, and he's my boss, one of the best bosses, too, I've ever had, this guy. He didn't care if you were a high school writer or whether you covered the big-time stuff. He took you under his wing. He opened. Every time you go in his office, you want to talk to him. He was just a truly legend. That's why they have a street named after him. But I asked Tom, when we're on the sidelines, at that time, the Lions were beating the daylights out of the Bucs on that particular game. Don't worry. It's been back and forth. I've illustrated that for Tom. Do you think this is going to get done? Or do you think the Bucs are going to? He said, Scott, and I'm reiterating what you just said, Leo, it's going to get done, but it's going to be close. And you sat there and pointed out the numbers that it was that close to get it done. So where do you go from here? Tampa's not bailing you out, but they've got to come to an agreement if indeed you're going to be able to keep baseball in that area. George Steinbrenner Field is a good fix for 1 year. At least the Rays were able to play spring training in their own place out in Charlotte. No big deal. But the reality is they're going to take a hit. And I commend the Steinbrenner family for giving them a place to play this year. And Leo, I actually found out myself that the Tartmans are going to play on the backfields over at George Steinbrenner Field for 1 year. And there's no issue with it because I wasn't sure. So I dug a little deeper and found that information out through ESPN. Reality of the situation is it's good that they'll get to St. Petersburg Stadium fixed for at least 3 years. It buys you a little time, and they'll have to bite the bullet this year. But they need to get new ownership, and I think that in the best interest of baseball, it really does they need to find a place in Tampa. St. Petersburg has had their run. It's been an absolute failure. Everybody knows that every team in Tampa does well. If you don't believe me, look at the Tampa Bay Lightning. They put that thing right downtown. How has it done well? What about the Buccaneers has done well? Tarpons didn't even do that bad when I was covering back in the day, because you had baseball and you had the Reds' long-standing relationship. So if baseball is going to survive in the Tampa Bay area, it has to be in Hillsborough County. I don't care. St. Petersburg has not worked out. Well, and the other flip side is that location that they're talking about redevelopment adjacent to Tropicana Field, it's already failed. Why would you build another stadium in an area that hasn't proven itself over the course of time? That's what I think. I want to also make a reference that Joshua Dort thinks that talks about Pensman feeling it should be in Daytona. Josh, I'll just say this because I handle the chat room. Pensman needs to do a little more follow-up on this situation. I've been up there covering games with the Daytona Tortugas, and they're ideal for a Class A team in Daytona. There's a rich history in Daytona for the Class A level. Jackie Robinson Ballpark is a must-see because they honor them, have a little museum and so forth. So it's a good bucket place for people that have never been there before. Leo, have you ever been up to Jackie Robinson Ballpark?
Haven't made it up there yet.
If you ever get a chance, it's something good to go. I've had a good working relationship with the Tortugas a lot, and to be able to honor Jackie Robinson in Daytona is something that most baseball fans should get around to doing. So, yes, Pensman needs to brush up on his baseball information, but realistically, if you're going to move it outside of Tampa in the state of Florida, Orlando to me would make more sense, because I believe the Orlando market, correct me if I'm wrong, Leo, I think they do follow the Lightning, and Tampa housed the Raptors when they were in a tough spot. If I'm wrong, please let me know.
No, they get some. They'd have gotten a lot more if Governor Scott would have put that bullet train from Orlando to Tampa. But they do get some people that come in, especially on the weekends.
All right.
Yeah, let alone the fact that a lot of the Magic fans, you can get NBA fans that'll make the track around I-4 to go there. So, the two places are what I think, Leo, about an hour away. That's it, right off of I-4.
Yeah. If you're not fighting Disney traffic, yeah,
right. I-4 traffic is brutal, don't we all know?
Oh God.
All right, yeah. Candy Ebling, your thoughts, Tampa Stadium.
So, Tampa traffic is not easy to deal with. Going down to St. Pete is not easy during rush hour and stuff like that. So should they put it back out there? I personally don't like the stadium. I've been to that stadium. It's not a pretty stadium. And so why would you want to keep going back? Now, yes, Leo, you're entirely correct. They're going to lose money this year because going to a smaller stadium, they're not going to be making money. So they need to decide real quick what they're going to do. If they're going to be able to rebuild, the Trop, if that's what they want to do there, I would move it. I would move it more into Tampa because I think, and going to Daytona wouldn't work because Daytona doesn't have enough of a nucleus, enough of a population to support it. Tampa has a much bigger population, can support it more. People, Orlando could support it. There's more, and more people go to those places. We talk about going to Daytona, but let's face it, most people, if they're going to visit Daytona from up north, they're visiting it in January, February, December, March, not in this thick and heat of the summer. So that's why it's got to go to a place that's got a real nucleus and a population.
The only thing that bothers me, and again, I'm 71 years old, heading to 72. The wussy fans we have up here in Tampa, they complain about driving over a bridge. I was in Jersey. We drove over the Ben Franklin or the Walt Whitman to go watch the Phillies, and that was tough. This is easy. You just get over there, you plan for an hour, and you go there. Plus, everybody says, well, we're not going to drive. Well, you're not going to drive over during a weekday anyway because you got to go to work the next day. But to complain about, oh, it's just a brutal drive over there. Well, it's a brutal drive everywhere. I don't care if you're coming from St. Pete to Tampa. It's going to take you the same time. Its traffic is terrible because look at Florida. There is no mass transit. It's cars and that's it. They haven't even run a bus from Tampa to St. Pete to the games. This is phenomenal.
Wow, that's a shame.
No kidding, really.
It's unbelievable that somebody hasn't thought about that yet.
Well, Leo, you know the most intriguing part about them playing at George Steinbrenner Field?
Hmm.
What happens if the Rays play in front of packed houses in Tampa? Just hypothetical, okay? Even though the stadium's way smaller, 11,000, how many crowds have you had that are under 10, 11,000 in St. Petersburg? Think about it. Anybody that goes out there and looks at that situation, well, albeit it's a short sample size, Leo, I totally get that. You follow me?
Yeah.
But just think, we all know that I believe that Tampa fans are some of the best in the state because they're predominantly Midwestern people. And when you have a predominant, all I have to do is go back to my days when the Lions were playing the Buccaneers and the Green Bay and the Chicago people, and half the stadium was filled with the other jerseys. And Tampa fans have always been supportive. They have had waiting lists of the Buccaneers for a long while. So I think Tampa fans are some of the best in the country. I really do. And am I biased a little bit because I have this thing called a ring from USF? Yeah, but I've also seen it too. I realize I may have 20/60, 20/80 vision, but I can tell you one thing with my vision. Of course, you have glasses too. And again, most of us do, except Candy. It'll be a while. But I can see a packed house when I see it, or a lot of fans. And Tampa's a great sports town. I'll never back down. And here, you know what? I'll take it a step further. Remember when you and I, Leo, saw USF against FAU? Not this year, but the year before. Don't sit here and tell me that the Yuengling Center wasn't ringing, because it was. I was so proud to be a USF alum because I never thought I'd see the day that building would be packed. And where Brian Segrist put me up in there, that was great. I was able to take my iPhone and take pictures of it and was so absolutely proud to be a Bull, let alone the fact I'm covering FAU because I have allegiances to both sides. Yes, Ivaruski, I know you're a UCF alum. We won't hold it against you on this show because you're flanked by two USF guys, but that's okay. At least Ivaruski's on the show. It's all beautiful. And yes, Ivaruski, I don't have glasses. Of course you don't. You're too young to have them anyway. Let's see what happens when you get after 40 or 50. Then you'll see what happens. It's all good in the chat room. I love Josh and the guys. These guys are good, especially when they're being acknowledged. What a beautiful thing with Josh and the guys when they're out there firing it all cylinders. But the reality is, Tampa's an excellent sports town. Leo and I could both agree on that, as we do a lot of other stuff, to be honest with you. But we know what we see in front of us. South Florida could use a little help in that area, but not Tampa. Tampa's a great sports town. If you win there, then you'll be rewarded, just like in the Midwest and a lot of other places.
All right. Candy mentioned about how, people in the summertime, how hot it is down there. I watched an episode of Bar Rescue, and he did a rescue at a Fort Lauderdale bar called the Bamboo Beach Tiki Bar. And John brought up a key point here that Candy brought up, was that a lot of people think the spring break crowd is what makes it's the crowd that comes down in the wintertime to get away from the winter and the wintertime blues. They go to Florida. They come down there for that. Summertime, they don't. I know a lot of people in Pittsburgh here that are what we call snowbirds. That means they come from Florida back to Pittsburgh because of the heat so hot down there that they don't want to be down there in the summertime. So I can understand where Candy said a point on that.
Well, let me expand on that. That's a great point, Ralph. Here's the thing.
Okay.
Batting practice is important, right, Leo? You can't do that if you have rain delays. All you have to do is look at the Marlins when they played at Joe Robbie Stadium.
Yeah.
So it's tough enough to hit a baseball, let alone the fact you don't have batting practice, and Mother Nature's in a bad mood, and she's going to, when raindrops be falling on your head, your bats aren't going to be hitting balls right to the back of the stadium, out of the yard. So there's a lot of disadvantages why you need a closed stadium. But the reality of the situation is, if the Rays only have about 2 or 3 years to get it right, because no new owner is going to sit there and tolerate a lot of this politics that's been going on for the better part of 10, 20 years. And if you're the Nashville Stars, you're probably salivating with the idea that the Rays could be moving there, because I think that that's a market waiting to happen, and the Nashville Sound won't be singing anymore, because I definitely believe Nashville is a top-tier candidate to get a team. So I think the Rays only have about 2 or 3 years to get it figured out, and that lease is going to end sooner than later. So this is a very critical point, and as Leo and I have talked about, there's an awful lot of complicated pieces. All we're trying to do is just come out literally with the appetizer. Right, Leo?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, another city you better start worrying about is Charlotte.
Yeah.
Charlotte, yes.
Yeah, but Charlotte needs to get it figured out. I haven't heard any reasonable stadium proposals yet, but if I start seeing any reasonable stadium proposals, I'll do it. But another couple of them you might want to think about too, Leo, is Salt Lake City and Portland, because they have plans in place that they're really looking to do some.
And Oakland has a stadium.
Yeah, a stadium.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
used to be
Oakland has
occupied.
Oakland
Yeah.
Alameda Stadium, the dump of
Yep.
the world.
Yeah, but Charlotte, I've always been hot on as a expansion candidate, but I haven't heard a stadium plan or an owner willing to do it. And they're an excellent AAA town with the Chicago White Sox, and they have a beautiful stadium. I haven't been in it yet, and I guess they call it Uptown down in Charlotte, even though everybody else on the planet calls it downtown. And I hear they do a phenomenal job supporting the team. And furthermore, Leo, I remember covering the Charlotte Knights when they were in Rockville, South Carolina. They had a 10,000 seat stadium. That was a pretty good place. It'd be good in any year, but they moved it to downtown, and the results picked themselves up. But you're right, Leo. I've often thought about Charlotte, but I have to see something with ownership and stadium before I can really fully hop on that bandwagon. But I think Nashville's way ahead of at this particular point. And Don Mattingly's involved as a consultant, and they have Dave Stewart and a lot of other people. So I think that Nashville's a little further ahead in this process.
All right, everybody. Thank you for that, and we're going to get
Great
into
opening
some.
act, Ralph. Great opening
yeah.
act. This was a great topic to lead off.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. All right, let's get into our next topic, and that is the best players in the history of the NFL. And we're focusing on all 32 teams today. We're going to do the AFC East and the AFC West. Okay, so let's go into the AFC East here. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills. Greatest players ever. Candy, we'll start with you. Buffalo Bills.
How do you not talk about Jim Kelly and Bruce Smith? Like
Yes.
two of the all-time greats. Jim Kelly, awesome quarterback. And Bruce Smith, like he was such a dominant force to be reckoned with.
Oh, yeah.
I'll keep mine short, but because I know that there's others that want to talk about them. But
all right, Scott.
I've been controversial from the beginning. I might as well stay that way. I'm going O.J. Simpson.
There you go. All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, O.J. Exactly. Everybody forgets about O.J. Played for the Buffalo Bills for a little while.
Well, I'll even expand on that comment. Many years ago, he helped me out a lot when I was covering a game on Monday Night Football. I had an issue with Howard Cosell. He didn't want to give me an interview. I turned to OJ, and OJ was great. And Leo, you know full well when you hit bigger name individuals and they give you confidence builders and treat your life so you never forget them. I don't care what happened later on in the game. OJ was a positive influence me as I got early into the business, and I'll never forget him. I don't care about the other stuff. That's not the point, because your topic is about best players in team history, and nobody can sit here and downplay the fact that he's the first one that reached a 2,000 plateau yards, and he did it in, I believe, Leo, 14 games, if I remember right?
14 games, yep.
Yeah, 2,000 should be easier now compared to 14, 16, or 17. So I'm steadfast with OJ. But the flip side is with Jim Kelly. I wrote a story on him many years ago when he was with the Miami Hurricane as a Heisman Trophy candidate. So I'll always be partial a little, but I stay with OJ. Sorry, Leo.
All right, real quick here, we gotta pay a couple bills. So this segment's brought to you by Robin Campbell Insurance, Farmers, Bristol West, 412-366-3399. Call Robin today. He has all your insurance needs for you as well. All right.
Let me throw two more into that bin that we got.
Leo, because you're next.
Thurman Thomas and Cookie Gilchrist. You got to remember, I go back a lot further than you guys do, and Cookie Gilchrist is probably one of the greatest trivia questions of all time, because one year in all major sports, the number 34 won the MVP. Elston Howard, Cookie Gilchrist, and we go on and on with that, but it's an amazing thing. But that's my two.
And let's go to the chat room. Cyberuski's reason he doesn't have a big microphone is he's graduated with a smaller one and a headset. Nowadays, a lot of people wear headsets. So just want to address that question. It's pretty simple. He has a little microphone and a headset, and everybody can see that headset on his head. At least I can.
Yeah, there it is. All right. There we go. Okay, question for Ralph. What happened to your giant microphone? Well, I still have it, but I have some microphones that I want to use, and that way they don't sit in a box and collect dust. This is a Shure microphone. I wanted to use this. This is my new studio setup in here. I just got a new computer, and so I got a new studio set up here as well. So I'm using this Shure microphone for now. I'll go back to the big one some other time. So
Look,
just
by
to
the way,
let you
your
know.
studio looks really good, Ralph.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll put you in the same sentence with the Jeffersons. You're moving on up.
Yes, I am.
Instead
I
of
am.
to a deluxe apartment to a deluxe studio.
Oh, yeah. Next Saturday, I won't be in Ocean City, Maryland, but we will be broadcasting from Ocean City, Maryland, because I'm going to take some mobile equipment with me, and we will be broadcasting from the hotel I'm staying at in Ocean City, Maryland next weekend. So just to let everyone know.
By the way, I've had my fair share of caffeine today. The one-liners will be on. They'll be like rockets. They'll be firing, man. They really.
All right, my players, Andre Reed and Jim Kelly and Bruce Smith. Those are my three, actually, for the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, so you decided to take three, and I only had one. That's okay. You could have my other one.
Well,
And
no, I wanted to think outside the box, Scott. I wanted to take Andre Reed because I actually thought he was a great wide receiver, and Jim Kelly made him great too by throwing him the ball a lot. You know what I mean? So
the only one that thought outside the box was Leo because he came up with a guy that I haven't even heard of.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. There you go.
Wait till we get to the AFC West. You're going to hear a lot of guys you never heard of.
I wouldn't doubt it with you, my friend.
Oh,
And I can't wait till we get to BlackRock either, Leo.
I can't wait till we get to the Raiders. So there you go.
Yeah, wait till we get in person at BlackRock. Poor Mr. Haggerty. He's going to have his ears knocked off. And we're going to have a blast doing it, right, Leo?
Absolutely. Let her rip, Ralph.
All right, the Miami Dolphins. Remember that old song? What was it? Miami Dolphins #1. Well, they're not #1 right now, but I'm going to start off with Zonka, and I'm going to go with Dan Marino. So there you go. All right, that's mine. Scott, yours for Miami Dolphins.
Well, #1, I hate Dan Marino, so I'm not putting him in the conversation. But you want to think outside the box of this? I'll put Bob Greasy because he did win a couple Super Bowls.
Yes, Bob Greasy. Yes.
That isn't good enough. What about Mercury Morris? He also had a hand in that. And
Yes.
I'll make up for the fact that I didn't really go out there and get an opportunity to add three. So why don't we put Paul Warfield in? I hope I didn't steal your thunder, Leo, but maybe if I did, all I have to do is look at the fact that I have a 72 Dolphins book sitting here in my studio. And those are three. As far as they have, you say #1. Right now, they're none.
All right, Leo.
I'm going to throw in, just because of what the man dealt with, Nick Bonacani.
There you go.
Yes,
Very
I
good.
forgot about him. He used to do the NFL Today or whatever kind of thing.
Yeah,
I remember him. Yeah.
If you ever see the video of how his son got paralyzed, it's a terrible video. He did everything right, and the running back just got thrown airborne, and he went over top of him and landed on the back of his neck. It was brutal. But again, the program they set up for that saved a couple people. I know the one guy up in Buffalo, they figured out they had to inject cold saline right in there right away. So Nick Bonacani, I'm going to throw him in.
And by the way, since you brought him up, I actually met Jim Kick years ago over at Gatsby's out here in Boca Raton, and Jim was a good guy. Unfortunately, he has gotten to him like every other NFL guy, but Jim was good. I had a nice picture with him years ago. And Gatsby's was a popular place I used to hang out with during happy hour. Those $4 pizzas I used to get with my barbecue chicken, no red onions or cilantro, and all the Diet Cokes I slammed down. Unbelievable, especially when I had to go out of town and cover big events and drive to the middle of the night. Another lifetime ago.
Yeah, real quick, Jim Kick went to high school up near me, up in Boonton, New Jersey.
No
in
kidding.
fact, I dated his coach's daughter.
Wow.
That's a lot. Yeah. Joe Molitari.
That's a daughter. It's a daughter to date the coach's daughter. There you go.
Yeah, I date the coach's daughter. I'm not dating Jim Kick's sister or daughter.
No, I know. I get it. All right,
but an irony. That's one I've never seen. Great stuff there, Leo.
So I agree with a lot of your names. I'm just going to throw two other names. Not that they're the greatest, but I think they're very honorable mention. One would be Zach Thomas, middle linebacker that did really well.
Absolutely, yes.
And the other name I would throw out there would be Jason Taylor, because he changed a lot of the, revolutionized the edge rusher position. So I mean, yes, the Bob Greasy, obviously, a lot of people would put Dan Marino, but these are two that are in a different position that don't get the notoriety, I think, that a lot of others do.
And no Dolphins conversation, coaches or not, you can't put Don Shula and Jimmy Johnson in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those two coaches, Scott, were some. Yeah, they put up some great numbers and wins, and Don Shula, especially with that 1972 team, absolutely.
Well, not only that, Don Shula is in my book. Listen from the microphone.
Yes.
And Coach Shula taught me an awful lot about dealing with people's strength. I always love Coach Shula, but I also had a great recent conversation with Jimmy Johnson. And we're going to air that on our network in the not so distant future. I have to catch up with all these NFL transactions guys coming and going, but these other heavy hitters are going to be on.
It's crazy. Everybody going everywhere. So some people like the Steelers don't have a quarterback. What we do now, Mason Rudolph. So there you go.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I have some interesting comments. I don't think the Steelers are as bad as most people think they are, but I'll reserve those judgments when they're appropriately added.
All right, next. We should have a lot on this one. The New York Jets. And I'm going to go with Joe Namath. And I'm going to go with, I can't even think of anybody else at this point, but Namath is mine. So go ahead, Leo.
I'm going to add Joe Klecko to the list.
Yeah, Klecko. That's right. Yeah. There you go. All right. Candy.
I'm going to add Curtis Martin.
Yes, and yes, another one from Pittsburgh. Yes, Curtis Martin. I'm going to tell you a little story about him. He lived in one of the dangerous neighborhoods here in Pittsburgh, and his parents got killed in a drive-by shooting, and he had to live with his grandma. And when he came home from school, and he went to locally here in Pittsburgh to a city league school called Alderdice, and what had happened was his grandmother said to him, when you get home from school, lock the doors, pull down the shades, and stay in the house. And that's what he did for years and years and years. And when he got the money together to go to Pitt, that's when he started excelling. But he needed to do that and get out of his neighborhood, because that neighborhood that he was living in was really bad at the time. So that's the story about Curtis Martin. It's very interesting. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention on that with Curtis Martin. But I do agree with Candy on that. Scott, go ahead. Yours, New York Jets.
No way you can say anything. You have to add Joe Namath, but what about Freeman McNeil? Freeman McNeil is a good running back. He really was. And Keyshawn Johnson for a period of time, too. Keyshawn Johnson, to me, put that franchise on the map. So I like Keyshawn, Freeman McNeil, but Joe Namath is what he is.
You know what? Real quick, Ralph, if we're talking coaches, we got to throw Weeb Hubank into that puppy. He has
I haven't heard that name in a while.
And with the Jets.
Right.
No question about it, Leo.
Oh, yeah. All right. Next, we will go to our final team, the New England Patriots. All right. This is a no-brainer here. I want to say Raymond Berry. He was a good coach for New England, and I want to go with Tom Brady. So, but that's mine. We'll go with you, Scott, first. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to go with the Michigan guy, Tom Brady. How do you not do that? All he did was win more Super Bowls than any quarterback on the planet, and the fact that he represents U of M real well because of the winningest all-time program on the planet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to go with Gronkowski as well. What an excellent tight end he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's another one from Pittsburgh, Woodland Hills High School. So
look at this. Really? We know you know your Pittsburgh stuff.
yeah, I know all the athletes from Pittsburgh pretty much. So, and speaking of Pittsburgh today, I'm going to an event later on tonight to honor Bruno Sammartino, and that is at 6:00 tonight. I will be at the Ross Township Community Center, so stop by. Myself, Smoking Jim Frazier, and also my other co-host from Sports Corner Radio Show, Claudio Rosano, and we're all going to be there for the dedication today to the 50 years dedication of Bruno Sammartino. So that will be happening at the Ross Township Community Center. It's brought to you by the Pros of Wrestling. Also, Corey Graves will be there from the WWE. He's a commentator and announcer. Also, I'm friends with his father, Dan Polinsky, who is the owner of the Pros of Wrestling. So, and also his brother Sam Adonis will also be there, who's a great wrestler. He wrestles mostly in the European market. So he'll be there as well, and several other matches. And you'll see me there, always saying, "Ref, do your job." So there you go. All right. Okay, next, Candy. Go ahead with yours. New England Patriots.
I mean, you got to put Tom Brady there. But how about John Hanna, the best guard in the NFL history?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. All right, Leo.
I'm going to go back to the Boston Patriots. Gino Cappelletti.
There you go.
Not just a player, but also a kicker. And he was one of the few straight-on guys until the Gogolaks changed that whole dynamic. But Gino Cappelletti. But there's no doubt. It's Brady and then the rest.
There you go. Keep in mind, Bill Belichick went there and didn't want to go to the Jets, so he always takes a cheap shot at the Jets any chance he gets an opportunity to do it. And rightfully so. He picked the job he wanted to go to. And the owner he didn't want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm glad you went back in time, Leo, to pull that one out of your pocket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one there. There really is. All right, let's go into the AFC West. Let's start off with the Las Vegas Raiders. I say, let's see, Stabler, and I'm going to get Kenny Stabler, and I'm going to go with, you know who I'm going to go with? I'm just going to go with Kenny Stabler. So go ahead, because I'm having a brain fart. I know there's a bunch of guys, but right now I'm having a brain fart. Candy, Las Vegas Raiders.
There's a lot. Gene Upshaw. And how about Marcus Allen? Marcus Allen had a great career, and a long career. So those would probably be two of mine.
All right, Scott.
How do you not put George Blanda on this?
Yeah, exactly.
What about Howie Long? Hello, people.
Yeah, that's who I was going to go with. Like I said, a little bit.
Well, so that's all right. We'll put you into the brain, in the GMTA category called Great Minds Think Alike.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And these people should realize that Jim Plunkett revived his career over with the Raiders. Just because a guy doesn't work out in his original place doesn't mean he's necessarily a bust. Maybe a change of scenery would work too. And all he did was win a couple Super Bowls quietly. Stabler's an obvious choice, but Jim Plunkett is a guy that doesn't get the recognition for what he did over there. And John Madden, if you want to hate coaches, sorry, Leo. I was on a roll here. But there's a few left for you because you'll come up with people none of us have come up with anyway.
All right, Leo Haggerty.
I'm going to throw three out for your consideration, ladies and gentlemen. Cliff Branch. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm going way back. And how can you put Ken Stabler in there without putting the ghost from the Post, Dave Casper, in there too?
Yes, Dave Casper, Belishnikov. We forgot about him too.
Yeah, Belishnikov. Yeah. Fred Belishnikov. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. And the last one, the most feared defensive player ever to play the game, Jack Tatum.
Yeah, but you know what? You know why I didn't put him in there, Leo?
They hit on Darryl Stingley, right?
No, not really. Well, that's part of it, but that's not the real reason why. George Eichhorn and I, of course, George was off that day. I was producer over at WXYZ Sports Talk back in the days when I started in this business. And I was working with a Channel 4 sports anchor at that time. I still think it is. Channel 4 is a NBC affiliate of ours. I was working with a guy named Mike Berry. I'll never forget this, and this is actually in my book, by the way, lessons from the microphone. Jack Tatum stood me up when we were trying to bring him on my show. Mike was the substitute host, and I was in the producer's chair. So Mike says to me when we're off camera, Scott, what are we going to do with this? And me, being just an 18, 19-year-old pop, do a little bit of math, 62 minus 18, and you might need a calculator for this one. Don't worry, Mike. I know exactly what we're going to do. We're going to extend this thing open line, and you and I are just going to we'll do the best we can. And Mike says to me, what? You say so? You're calling the shots. I'm earning, this is off camera. I mean, not off camera, but no hot mic kind of thing.
No hot mic.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that. So when he stood us up, I lost all respect for him. What you did on Stingley was a football hit at the time, because you can hit people much harder. Now, obviously, they refined the rules a little bit, but you won't get away with that sort of hit nowadays. But the fact that he stood us up and we recovered nicely because I was able to think on my feet at an early age was necessary. And you can't really have a conversation without at least inserting Daryl LaMonica in this conversation. because Daryl
Yes.
was a pretty good quarterback as well. Of course, we all know about John Madden, and who was Tom Flores also was a pretty good quarterback for him. So the Raiders.
And Willie Brown may have been the best corner of his time as well.
Yeah, but my reasons for Jack Tatum are a bit different than most people. But we recovered. Mike said after we got done, shook my hand, man, you did really good behind the scenes, being a young guy. I said, well, you have to learn and you have to be able to pivot. Hey, listen, how many times have you been in this business, Leo, where if plan A didn't work, you better have a good plan B or C, and you don't have much time to think about it.
Yeah, and hey, if you can't dazzle him with knowledge, baffle him with BS, right?
Right. Well, not only that, I mean, my partners at the Tampa Tribune, I got into a tough situation where the phone lines didn't work over at Kissimmee, and Rick Nelson, I don't know if you ever remember him back in the day, but Rick Nelson and I handled it well. Say, hey, listen, Rick, I can't get this thing. We got a brand new stadium. The phone lines aren't any good. Can I dictate 2 stories? No problem. He talked to the desk and, hey, listen, we've had some phone technical. Give him 25 minutes, he'll get it done. Boom. And that's another thing in my book. A little extra self-promotion, but knowing that Leo was on the other end of this, he can relate to all the people that I'm dealing with, even though you won't be able to hashtag any of them because you know them anyway. But they're so great stories to tell. Another reason to buy my book. All right, go ahead.
All right. All right. Fold and Travel Mobility. Give them a call today. 1-877-GOT-FOLD or foldandtravelmobility.com. Look, if you're handicapped and in a wheelchair like I am, and you think, oh, man, I can't go out. Yes, you can. What you do is you call Fold and Travel Mobility. They will fit you into the right power wheelchair that folds up, puts right in the trunk of your car or in your SUV or whatever it is you have, and you can start going to events. So 1-800-GOT-FOLD, I'm sorry, 1-877-GOT-FOLD, and also foldandtravelmobility.com. They have chat people on the chat that have been around for 30 years in the business, not somebody that just showed up about a month ago. They have a whole bunch of people there that can help you with this. And also, they have some specials that they run all the time, and also financing is available. Fold and Travel Mobility. All right, let's go to our next one, the Kansas City Chiefs. Len Dawson for me. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, that was really tough, wasn't it? My goodness. Really? Seriously? Really? Yeah, Len Dawson without a doubt.
All right.
Nowadays, you have to go with Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, Patrick Mahomes for right now. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, he's won Super Bowl or two, and yeah.
You have to have an et cetera by the Kansas City Chiefs, too many to ramble. But I'm going to put Patrick Mahomes for the sake of keeping it update.
All right, Candy.
Patrick Mahomes obviously is way up there. What about Tony Gonzalez and Derek Thomas?
Yes. Yeah, the late Derek Thomas. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm glad you brought Derek Thomas into this conversation because when I was covering one of my Super Bowls, and have you covered many Super Bowls at all, Leo, at all? Have you been any? And one of the best events that you can have there is going there when they make the Hall of Fame selections. I would talk to a lot of the writers over there, and I'll never forget the time I was saying Derek Thomas is going to get in. But the way the voting is, it's a political thing where you vote for my guy this year, I'll vote for yours the next year. And Derek Thomas ended up getting in there. If you want to add other people, Christian Okoye and Joe Delaney could be put in there. Unfortunately, their careers got cut short. But Derek Thomas is a massive pass rusher. Can you imagine the sacks he'd get these days? But I'm telling you, Derek Thomas did get in. And Christian Okoye and Joe Delaney, it's just too bad.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Leo Haggerty.
You know, guys, we got to go back to the Dallas Texans, too, if we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. And, we got Ernie Ladd and Buck Buchanan in that group. We got Willie Lanier in that group. Right. But you know what? We got a great story with that. When they went into overtime one time against the Houston Texans, Kansas City won the toss and decided to play defense, which back then was unheard of because it was sudden death. And they came out and won in 6 overtimes. It was crazy. But, Abner Haynes was the guy who made the call for the Dallas Texans at the time. But, definitely a storied franchise, not just in Kansas City, but in Dallas as well.
Well, let me add to that point. When I was out in Tampa covering the Super Bowl, I had a chance to meet Marv Levy. And, of course, I always call Ralph Wilson Mr. Wilson because that's how you respect a guy who's been in. I said, Marv Levy, I told him, I do remember your wing tee offense. He looks at me with a big smile like this. I can't believe somebody remembers.
Wow, the wing tee. Oh my.
But that's what he said too.
Yeah.
I can't believe somebody.
Yeah.
Listen, Coach, I remember everything about this game. He looked at me. The only regret I have is I wish I would have had a camera phone back then. That was a picture waiting to be taken. But I remember, and Coach Levy's unbelievable. We all know what he did in Buffalo. But few people realize he had great success in the Canadian Football League. In addition to the fact that he laid out the groundwork for Kansas City. Maybe the results aren't as good as they were in other places, but just because you're a coach and you don't have great results in one place doesn't mean after the second or third try you'll land your spot and you're there for a while. So I love Marv Levy, the wing tee offense. Think about that.
Yeah, Bill Belichick in Cleveland, we don't even talk about, right?
Yeah, but yet we should. Yet we should. He made them really relevant, and we all know what he did in New England. He had Nick Saban on that staff too, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he? Nick Saban was on that staff?
I think so.
Yeah. Bill Belichick has done pretty well for himself even after his pro days. Everybody, is it crazy, Leo, or what? All these guys that are on Sunday are going to Saturday. Maybe they followed me. I left the NFL and I'm with the Miami Hurricanes and loving every bit of it.
Well, nowadays it's college has become the pros with NIL.
No kidding.
Yes, it has. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, three more names I want to mention. The owner, Lamar Hunt, obviously. Okay. And then Marty Schottenheimer was a good coach there. And I know he didn't do quite well there, but Dick Vermeil was also a coach there for a few years.
Yeah.
So
the only issue I have with Hunt, and I dealt with this when I was in Arizona, is I talked to Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones will talk to you all day long. And when the Hunts didn't want the Lions to host the Thanksgiving game, Jerry Jones, everybody knows what an influence he has on this, said, there's no way. And I repeat, Jones, Detroit. And I said, Detroit, because after all, I'm trying to become a Texas guy for a moment, will ever lose that Thanksgiving game. Detroit and Dallas will not lose it. So what do you think happened? They add the third game in prime time. That's what happened. The Lions and the Cowboys wanted it. Nobody wanted it. They got it, and then you can do what you want at night.
All right, let's move on.
Jerry Jones. Not impressed with his free agent move, but I'm proud of Jerry Jones for at least backing the Lions.
Oh, absolutely. And Dallas is in that game, and it has a game too every Thanksgiving.
Well, they have the later game. The Lions had the early, the later. Now, of course, there's no way you were going to get past Jones.
It's a traditional thing, Scott, and it blends in with Thanksgiving with them two games. And you know you're always going to see Dallas and Detroit. So that's why it's a good thing to happen. And I'm glad he's
back to the 1930s. Remember the Portsmouth Spartans? You talked about the Dallas Texans, Mr. Haggerty. What about the Portsmouth Spartans, who ended up becoming the Detroit Lions? Now you got two senior citizens on there talking about these teams before they ended up in their places. You got Mr. Dallas Texans and Portsmouth Spartans. What can I say?
It's like the Detroit Pistons were the Fort Wayne before that.
Oh, no kidding.
Now we're going way back. Candy's laughing at us now, going, let's dust these geriatric guys off.
Not necessarily, because whether you know it or not, and I always kid around with Candy about it, she was actually born in Indiana, and she's a Wisconsin girl.
Oh.
Did you know that?
All right, we got
let's know where you were born
before we wrap it up. Let's go with the current Los Angeles Chargers, formerly known as the San Diego Chargers. Okay, Dan Fouts. So that's mine. Candy, go ahead with yours.
Oh, let's see. How do we not do like? I mean, they have a number of them, but how about LaDainian Tomlinson?
Yes.
Yes.
And what about Junior Seau?
Yes. Yeah, the late Junior Seau. Yeah, before he went to New England. Yeah, he was good. Okay. So, all right, Leo.
You know what, guys? People don't realize that this is the second time the Chargers have been in L.A. They started there with Keith Lincoln,
wow,
and John Hadel in San Diego, and they were pretty darn good there in L.A. as the L.A. Chargers. In fact, John Hadel was the only quarterback that wore number 21, which was amazing. But you got to throw Antonio Gates in here because they have been great tight ends. And, you know, talk about coach. How about Don Coryell?
Eric Coryell. Yes.
Eric Coryell.
Yes. Right.
All right, I'm throwing it to you, Scott.
Well, let's not forget that Don Coryell started off with the St. Louis Cardinals when they were
he did.
Well, so I'm you guys set me up so beautifully here. Thank you, guys and gals. I'm putting
you're
Kellen Winslow into this conversation because I
Yes.
saw that
Yeah.
incredible game when I actually moved to Miami at the time when they had that massive overtime game against the Dolphins. But another guy I'm going to put in there is Phillip Rivers. When Eli Manning did not want to go there, Phillip Rivers did a really nice job in Chargers land. So I'm going
It's
to
just,
acknowledge Phillip and Kellen Winslow. You talk about a
it's
guy
just
who was
sad.
dragged off the
It's
field.
just sad, Scott, that Phillip Rivers didn't win a Super Bowl. I mean, along with Eli and Roethlisberger in that class.
Well, why do you think Eli didn't want to go there?
Yeah.
Because he knew we weren't going to win one there, but he got one with the Giants. Come on, Ralph, you have to look deeper into this whole
with
thing.
the Giants. Yeah.
That's what I said. You're making my point for me. Thank you, Ralph. He wouldn't go to the Chargers because he knew when they wouldn't spend any money. Their stadium situation was in flux. I'm going to the Giants, and that's probably what will happen with Shedeur Sanders. He'll end up going to the Giants too because history's going to find a way to repeat itself with high influence fathers. So reality is Kellen Winslow, I'll never forget that emotional moment where he's being lifted off so exhausted after that overtime game. If you look at the NFL archives, you're going to see it. That Phillip Rivers doesn't get the credit with the Chargers he did. Let's face reality. Leo and I probably know it well. How many great players actually finish in their same spot over the years? There are very few and far between these days. Eli Manning did. Peyton Manning didn't. Joe Montana did. And obviously landed up in Kansas City, although you won't make a case for him being a great seat. The only thing that happened was he couldn't get 16, so he flipped it to 19. So the list goes on and on. Boy, aren't you having a fun time, Leo, on this show with all the history that we're throwing back and forth?
All right. Next, and last but not least, the Denver Broncos. All right, let's go with them. John Elway, Dan Reeves. Go ahead, Scott.
I'm going John Elway. He's my all-time favorite quarterback in the NFL outside of Terry Bradshaw. But the guy that does not get enough credit is Terrell Davis.
Yes, Terrell Davis.
Tell you what,
yes.
Elway didn't win a Super Bowl until Davis got there. It's just unfortunate Terrell Davis's career ended up short.
Early.
And if you want, and I'll wait for everybody else to finish, and I'll add a couple more names later. But I'm going Davis and Elway.
All right, Leo Haggerty.
I'm going to throw another running back in there, guys. Floyd Little.
Amazing how you met him. I actually met him in a Super Bowl. Got a good photo taken. I did. That was one of the photos I did. He got in the Hall of Fame late, but I'm glad he made it in there.
All right, Candy.
I mean, you have to have John Elway in there. But what about Sterling Sharp?
Yes.
Champ Bailey and Von Miller.
Yes, absolutely. Oh yeah, all three of those
Bill
guys.
Romanowski.
Yes, I forgot about Romanowski, dirtiest player in the game. Yeah.
Steve Atwater.
Well, I'll tell you what, Conrad Dobler may debate that one.
No question about that. Well, you can say one thing. Dick Butkus may not have been a dirty player, but boy, was he a scared player.
My Lord, some of the hits he had, I can still remember this one on video. The San Francisco 49ers tight end caught it, and he got hit and fell to his knees. You could see he was concussed, and here comes Butkus. Oh, my God. It was like watching Ray Lewis when he had that 60-yard run at the guy when they returned that kick 109 yards. And Ray Lewis, they're going to obliterate somebody. And that's basically what Butkus did.
Well, let alone, though, I was at the worst day of Dick Butkus' life when he saw Chuck Hughes die on the field at Tiger Stadium in 1971. Say what you want about his ferocity on the field, but the fact is he went over to the people, so we need some help. This guy unfortunately passed away. I was at that game with my dad today. I'll never forget. But Dick Butkus, we talk about dirty players is one thing, but this guy had a soft heart and he lived a long time with all the physical.
Yeah, there's a difference between being a dirty player and being a hard-hitting player.
No
Butkus
question.
was a hard hitter.
No question.
All right, let's get to our. Sorry, Candy, but Scott told me I could use it. Let's go to my town. All right, we'll start with you, Leo.
Well, we got the Lightning are away. They're in Boston today. We're going Sunday out to USF to the watch party for the USF women who are going dancing out there. USF is deciding to open up the coaching search. They're going to go national. I hope they give Coach Fletcher at least an interview with this, because what he had to go through this year was mind-boggling. And I went through something similar in coaching, which is it's like a half-hour story, but I'll let it go at that. But that and the Rays, my God, it's mistake after mistake after mistake coming out of there. So that's what we got happening, and the Bucks are getting ready for the draft. That's what's happening in Tampa Bay, guys.
All right, Candy Ebling.
So, Scott alluded to earlier, I was originally born in Indiana, but I grew up in Wisconsin. We moved when I was a year and a half old. So I really call Wisconsin home. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the Wisconsin women's hockey program. They're ranked number 1 in the nation, and they start their tournament today. The Wisconsin men's basketball team ranked 18th in the country. They have a tough game today in the Big Ten tournament. They actually go up against Michigan State, who took the Big Ten in the regular season. Then there's Marquette. Marquette is, I believe, plays. Did they play St. John, or they're playing St. John?
They lost to St. John yesterday. Close game.
Close game, but they gave them a good game. And let's face it, St. John is ranked. But both of them should make the all-star selection. And
they'll be dancing come next week.
They'll be dancing, exactly. So good luck to them. Obviously, today, I was talking earlier, we're headed over to Fort Myers because we're going to watch the Boston Red Sox against the Minnesota Twins. We're on a tour. Scott and I did a tour of all the spring training facilities in Arizona a couple years ago. We finished that tour. So now I'm on a tour of all the different spring training facilities here in Florida. So this will be another one off the list. So
you know what, Candy? The nice thing about the Arizona tour is probably only within 20 miles. They're all right there in one spot.
Exactly. That's why it makes it harder for us to do the Florida one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave a little bit more for Scott, because Scott obviously lives where I do. So
guess what, Leo? Arizona tour, been there, done that. I don't know if I've gone over my time on a couple of things over to 2 to 5 minutes, so I'll try to keep this as short as I can to try to make it, because Ralph Show's going at a really good pace around the 58 mark. There are times we've gone way over. But didn't go to Sebring this week, never worked out. No big deal. Yes, spring training will work out. I knew that was my backup plan. Then again, it was probably my primary plan. Anyway, Sebring isn't conducive to having too much overflow media because they don't have a real sky press box to see the whole track anyway. No problem with Sebring. I'll take Fort Myers all day long. But here's the biggest carrot. And you had a chance to see this guy earlier when FAU was up there. Let's go to Matas Volkatitis. Now, you know how I've learned how to pronounce that name better? I've watched a couple of their games, and the broadcasters did a good job. I saw this kid last Sunday against ECU, and this Lithuanian freshman who's 7 foot. And I'll tell you one thing about Jeff Jackas. He's done a good job recruiting internationally. Watch out for Motas Volkatitis. This kid's a stud. I love what Jackas is doing here over at FAU. He's already committed to coming on the Motor City Mad Mouse show in the future. Great first act by Jackas. Hopefully he gets to the NIT. I really do. But this kid here, the 7-foot stud, and all these international players on FAU, this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with going forward.
All right, thank you. My town, Penguins play today at 1 o'clock against the Devils here at PPG Paints Arena, and then the Pirates, they play the Orioles. Have been getting blown out in the last 3 or 4 games. Bullpen don't look too good, and so they've been getting blown out. Steelers, on the other hand, are still looking for a quarterback, although they got Mason Rudolph back, and Kyle Allen went bye-byes, and they have a quarterback on the practice squad. So we'll see where the Steelers go at quarterback, and the draft's coming up as well for them. I want to congratulate, speaking of the big dance, Pitt will not be dancing. Duquesne will not be dancing, but Robert Morris will be. And I want to congratulate them for winning the Horizon League championship. And Robert Morris has been struggling for the last 5 years. They stuck with Andy Toole. He's been their coach here for almost 15 years now, and he's done a well of a job with that team this year in the Horizon League. Okay.
Oh, by the way, let me ask you a question. Where's Kyle Allen going, bro?
I believe he went to Indianapolis, I think.
I believe you are wrong. He's headed to the Detroit Lions, your worst enemy.
Lions. Okay, that's okay. I thought somebody went to Indianapolis from our
It
team.
wasn't him. It was Daniel Jones, my friend. Just thought I'd
Yeah.
get the FYI. He'll be actually a good compliment to Jared Goff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Kyle Allen's a good quarterback. I mean, he was a backup up in Buffalo for many years under Josh Allen. And when Josh Allen was hurt, he would come in and win games. So
Leo,
Kyle Allen's,
Quick question for you. I'm glad you brought the USF coaching search. I'm just curious right now, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in a couple of weeks. Who do you think would be the top two candidates if they opt to go the national route? Do you have any idea who you think would be worthy of it?
I think they should give Coach Fletcher a year or two after what he put up with. I mean, the fact that you're going national search is basically telling me, okay, this isn't the guy. The fact that he kept that program together deserves at least another year, maybe two, because now you get to try to put your stamp on it. But I don't know who they're looking at, because I guess they're forced to open it up now. But I have no idea. This kind of came as a surprise to all the media. We thought they would extend Ben for a year or two, so this was interesting.
Name to throw out there might be Tom Crean down the road. We'll see what happens. I've been watching him all week. I realize he's had opportunities, but I understand that his coach deserves another year in light of what the adversity he's had to go through. And with us being there to be able to take a picture with Abdur Rahim, Amir, unbelievable. I'll never forget the time that him and I spent together. It's just
All right. All right, everybody. Tonight, please come out to the dedication to Bruno Sammartino. Corey Graves will be there from the WWE. Also, I forgot to mention Bob Mikuchki will be there. He is a trader who trades tickets, trades souvenirs. He's a well-known trader, and he'll be there. And also, he has legend trading cards if you want to trade with him. And so Bob Michelucci also be there. Larry Richard from KDK Radio will be there. I'll be there. Claudia Rosano from the Sports Corner radio show. And don't forget this afternoon, speaking of Sports Corner, don't forget this afternoon, 2 to 3 p.m., the Sports Corner radio show with me, Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier, Claudia Rosano, Luther Dupree. We got a lot to talk about, and that's on 1250 AM, The Answer 92.5 FM. Just to let everyone know, I've re-signed my contract with 1250, so we're on for a little more time here. So I just want to let everyone know that as well. All right, so I'm also going to be at another event, but it's not about sports, and that's coming up from noon to 4. But check out my Facebook page and all my social media platforms. We'll get started with our closing here. And you can reach me on Facebook, Twitter, X, also on LinkedIn, Tumblr, and also you can reach me I have a YouTube channel with several shows. Please subscribe and check out all my archive shows as well. And also don't forget to please follow me on Twitter, X as well. So I'll be seeing and talking with a lot of you folks. If you're coming out to Ross Township Community Center today, you'll be seeing me there for the wrestling event. So come on over, say hello. Tuesday, I have two folks coming on. I have J.D. Wyatt coming on to talk about the Carolina Panthers and my 32-team draft thing. He's going to talk about the draft and free agency with the Carolina Panthers. And then also I'm trying to get Leo to come on Tuesday as well.
At 5 o'clock, Ralph.
5 o'clock for you? All right, good.
O'clock.
I need one more slot filled. All right. And then at 4 o'clock, I have to check my notes here for 4 o'clock. But I have 3 guests coming on. We're going to talk about all the different teams in the NFL free agency and the draft. Also, I'm going to present some mock drafts to you as well. Who's going to do what? Myself, Smoking Jim Frazier. Special 2-hour edition all the way up to the draft so I can get all the guests in for all 32 teams. All right. So go ahead, Scott, with your final thoughts in closing.
Well, my final thoughts, a great show. I'm going to turn over to Candy Ebling to do all my talking because I probably went over time a lot anyway. So, Candy, why don't you go out there and talk about everything that we do from the YouTube channel, Twitter, and everything. The floor is yours. Leo, the one thing I'll say about what I'm saying, nobody will ever say I talk too much on this last route because if you make
you're the motor mouth.
Exactly. That's why I get 45 seconds and she gets the rest.
So Scott wrote this book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. He wrote it about his 40 plus years in the industry and how the industry has changed. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a link to our merchandise store and a plethora of great content from USF to the FAU to the Gators to the Dolphins, the Jaguars. Go check it out. Scott writes. I take some pictures now and again. Great website. Our YouTube channel is South Florida Tribune YouTube. We do wherever you get your podcast, you can find us. Monday nights we talk baseball, Tuesday nights we talk football, Wednesday and Thursday nights we talk sports in general, and then we talk hockey as well on Thursday nights. So check out our YouTube. If you want to find me as well, we both have Facebook pages. The South Florida Tribune has a Facebook page. We have Twitter at Tribune South. But there is one other place you can find me, and that's on the Chicks podcast. We do 3 Chicks in a Pod or Chicks and Salsa, because it started out as 3 Chicks, and then they added me as a 4th, and so we're Chicks and Salsa as well. So great time. Thanks, Ralph, for having me as a guest today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Candy, and thank you for being on here. Pensman couldn't make it today, and we're working on getting some other guys on. We had Mike Sisak on last week. Leo, so and from the Amped Up Sports as well. All right,
yeah.
Leo,
Let me add one thing. Sorry, Leo, I apologize. That I wanted to mention here. I was thinking about it on the fly. We were able to find a way to promote our first episode. Leo, remember when we rebranded about the Daytona and all those countries? Thankfully, we took Ralph's show. We were able to put it inside that article, and we shared it on social media because I'm proud of how that first show worked with the rebranding. Ralph could not have done a better thing talking about the Daytona 500 and those hours that were being aired worldwide. We were able to incorporate it. We were promoting. Sorry, Leo. It was fresh in my mind. I wanted to get that out there. My apologies, buddy. Go ahead.
No problem.
all right,
Hey,
Leo.
you can find us on Amped Up Sports on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube. Candy, I got a favor. When you guys come to Tampa, bring your recorder. Because if my old body isn't in your second book, Scott, I'm going to be upset. So we need to do an interview up here. So Candy, bring the recorder, turn it on, and Scott, you and I will go at it and talk sports for whatever long we need to.
The only thing I'm going to say to that, that's a given with an exclamation point. And you know what I always say? Really? Seriously? Really? Seriously? Really?
I'll
Seriously?
bring to that.
And I'll have a hat for it as well. Don't worry, the Black Rock will never be louder than it was when we get done with it. Right, Leo?
Absolutely. Go ahead,
Great
Ralph.
stuff.
Okay, Tuesday, Robert Butler will join us at 4:00, 4:30. JD Wyatt, and then at 5, Leo Haggerty. I'm working on one more guest for 5:30. We're gonna have 4 people come on and talk about the NFL teams. I'm sorry to interrupt, Scott. So
Yeah, you talking about. I did great. I said what I had to say to Mr. Haggerty. Him and I are gonna have a whale of a time when we get out to Tampa. Then again, Leo,
Absolutely.
do we ever not? And by the way,
that's
I'll
for
have
sure.
2 books in my hand. One of them is headed to you, but you have to carry the freight when it comes to giving Peter Blake is. You just simply have to drive over there and give it to this guy.
Yeah, just don't forget your daggone clipboard this time, all right?
Oh, no. You know why I won't forget it? Because Candy's going to have it. I'm just going to do everything else. Shame on me once, but it won't happen again. I can't expect too many miracles out of you, but the fact that you delivered one was good enough. Seriously? Really? Whatever.
All right, Ralph, take us out, brother.
All right.
You got it. Thank you for watching Sports Wrap. We'll be back next Saturday. Don't forget to catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, X platforms, and the South Florida Tribune Network and Huddle Sports Network. Until next week, have yourselves a great one. Thank you. Be safe.
Take care, guys.
Come on. What are we doing here? There we go. Just trying to get it out of there.